everyone. I am Dax.
And I'm Em.
And this is Full His House.
Your Full House Fancast.
And today we are covering Season 1, Episode 13, Sisterly Love. Stephanie is chosen for a part in a TV commercial for which DJ was auditioning. What are our initial thoughts and any... I mean, we're kind of entertainment adjacent people, so this was a very interesting one, I think.
This was an interesting one. I was actually really surprised to kind of, because it felt almost like their way of breaking the fourth wall in a sense where like you have her auditioning for a commercial, but she is an actress who had to audition to get into the show, and currently she's acting as if she's in an audition. You get me? They kind of broke the wall there, which was, kind of dope. I think that this one was relatable to a certain demographic of people. I feel like some people, have that story of being in a commercial or whatever. I know when I was like under one, like I was like a baby, still under 1 year old. They were still telling how many months I was at that point. I was in some kind of foreign film. Don't know what it was. My mom and my grandma tell me it was Asian. That's all they really have for me because they couldn't understand the language. They couldn't read it. Nobody really knew. They were extras. And all of a sudden I was pulled in to be the main baby. That's really all I know about it. But I know that at least it's realistic. I feel like everybody has, especially if you have multiple siblings, everybody has at least one sibling that like wants to be in that world, whether it's through acting or modeling or film writing like what I'm doing or filmmaking or something in the back. Like everybody knows somebody who wants to be in that world, even if it's just a phase. You knew them in that point. So I think that for a certain type of people, this can be very relatable. I thought it was interesting to see the two girls kind of butt heads in a different way. I have feelings about certain decisions, but I think I'm going to hold that until we get to that point in the breakdown.
Yeah, definitely some feelings. I do. There's a couple moments that I really do love from this episode. But it's kind of just like you said, I think it is a relatively realistic take on what happens when you're out there auditioning or doing any type of performance and stuff like that. I totally understand when you're a kid and you get the bug, as they would say, you want to do this. And especially since Danny is in the industry, while it's still so far-fetched to be like, okay, could you really just land an audition like the week of, like, geez. But it's kind of like you said, most people either know someone or have someone in their family who has tried to do some type of acting or auditioning at some point. I did study some musical theater growing up. I lived in LA, went on a couple auditions here or there. Like, it's just something you kind of fall into every once in a while with people. Mm-hmm. And it's a very disappointing it's a very disappointing line of work to get into. Entertainment is very disappointing. There is a line in this episode that I'm going to hold on that I think explains it very well, but only somebody who has been in the industry for so long could write that. So I hope that we're at some point able to find out who wrote this exact line. I know that there's feelings about, oh, you don't talk about who wrote what in the writer's room, like we all take credit, but there is an individual in there who gets it. And
yes,
it would be great. But yeah, a lot to cover. So we will start. The family walks in with DJ, who looks beautiful in her red dress. I just gotta say, like, that is a very extravagant dress. But they applaud her because it is revealed that she just came back from playing the lead in The Princess and the Frog. And since Michelle was crying and Joey couldn't see her finishing scene, Jesse and DJ do the scene together, and Jesse is the frog. I actually have never seen even the Disney movie, but I've never been too familiar with The Princess and the Frog. But it does seem like a very cute little play for an elementary school to be doing.
I think it's adorable. I also am not super familiar. I saw the Disney movie once, and that was still about, it would have been the year it came out. Realistically, I have no idea how long ago that was. All of 2000 to 2010 have kind of blurred together at this point. Honestly, 2000 to now have kind of blurred together at this point. I'd have to actually go back and look to figure out exactly when that came out. But I saw it shortly after it did come out, and that was the only time I did see it. So I'm familiar with the overall story of, well, assuming that the Disney movie is similar to what they were doing in, the play. You have a girl who finds a frog who can talk. She kisses him. She turns into a frog. At least that's what it is in the movie. But in the movie, they're also making it like a New Orleans thing. Like, I don't know if that's where it's actually based out of. I don't know how much of that is actually true or accurate. So realistically, I feel like I can't say much on this one. Yeah. I feel like I can't say much on it because I feel like Disney wasn't accurate about what they probably were doing at that time.
Yeah, I have no idea. So I just know it's an old, maybe it's a Grimm tale. I'm not sure. I need to catch up on my fairy tales and folklore. But this was a cute little scene. The family applause, and Stephanie does her "ooh, the girl is hot" kind of thing, and
yeah.
It's kind of a little bit of a running gag. I think this is the second time we've seen it in the show so far. And DJ says that she loves acting, and Jessie, in front of everybody, especially with DJ in the room, suggests that DJ that Danny try to get her into a commercial or something like that. Pull some strings, and DJ and Danny says that he'll ask around, but not to get her hopes up. Danny is so not about this out the gate, and for all the right reasons. Like, you just do not want to put your kid through this.
I completely agree with that. I feel like, especially kids, especially with like DJ, she's not even in middle school yet. So she's still taking one class with one teacher.
Oh yeah, you're right. She's still, she's 10, 11 at this point. Like, and I know that, okay, quite literally there are multiple children in this show that are way younger, but just realistically speaking,
we can only speak for like, ourselves and whatnot. I personally, if I had a kid, I would not, because of the personal fact of knowing that, especially in the early years, I guess when they're cutest, they do have the ability of just being in one class. It's easy to, get a tutor or have a teacher, because it is just one class that teaches you a bunch of things, and it's set up to be one teacher who does it anyways. But once you get in that life, it's hard to then be like, okay, guys, we're done, because you're about to enter middle school, and it's a whole different, I was going to cuss there, and it's a whole different world. It's a completely different world. It's a whole different source of stresses and peer pressure, and just, there's going to be so many changes happening in you that working right now is not going to be the best. We can look back at working later when you hit 16, when you're legally able to work and keep your own money, and you can actually do your taxes and all this. Like, when you get to that point, then we can look at doing it. Realistically, that's kind of where I'm at with that. I feel like those early days are meant for just doing, what you're supposed to do as a kid. You're meant to be a sponge, learn a bunch of stuff, set yourself up in a good place. If you're really interested in acting, we can put you in drama club, whether that's at a school or at a local theater. Like, there are ways to still give you that while not putting you in the spotlight before you're really ready for it. Because I'm not going to lie, I don't want to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely, without offending anybody, I agree. I think that and just to echo what Jodie Sweetin has said on the How Rude Tanneritos podcast, the mother that she is now is not the mother that she was before she had children. I do not have children, so I say this now, but I'm sure it might change if I actually had children. Yeah. But I think, it would be important for me to know that the kid actually has a love of the craft and the art form of acting, and not wanting to be on TV and be on a stage and get that high.
Exactly.
I think that relationship,
it shouldn't be about absorbing the attention. It should be about doing something that you physically love doing, something that brings you joy.
In the kitchen, Jessie gives the baby a corned beef sandwich on rye with a pickle, and she starts to feed it to Jessie, which I think is really cute. Danny asks why Michelle has a whole sandwich, and Jessie said because he didn't have time. It's because he didn't have time to make chicken wings, which is just a cute little interaction between Jessie and
Michelle and Danny. Adorable, but I would have waited for chicken wings.
You would have waited for the wings? I just...
I would have waited for the wings. I'm not going to hold you. I would have waited for the wings.
¿Por qué no los dos? Why couldn't you, like, you know, we have a sandwich, you also whip up some wings, you know, we can just make it a thing. Joey comes in with groceries and denies the offer of a sandwich. He showcases his healthy food and announces that his cholesterol is high and he needs to start working out, cut down on the saturated fats, and he had decided to completely cut out junk food. Danny and Jesse are not convinced that he can do the junk food part. I have to applaud Joey here. I think that like dieting and this and that is always such a big thing, especially when you start getting older and you start actually looking at your cholesterol and stuff. But you can't, if you do anything cold turkey, it's not going to work, especially when it's food.
Facts. Facts. Honestly, anything that you have to ingest because there's a taste that goes along with it and it also has a chemical change to your body. Yeah, 100%. Now, it's possible, but it takes someone with a very strong will and strong mindset in order to quit something cold turkey. Realistically, quitting anything cold turkey is usually difficult if you enjoy it. That's the issue.
Yeah. So it was it was an interesting choice. I do think it's so funny because Joey says he is Mr. Willpower as he stops smoking cold turkey. And Danny says, Joey, I've known you your whole life. When did you ever smoke? And Joey says, when I was a kid, smoked 4 cigarettes. My dad caught me and I never picked it up again. Which I thought was pretty freaking hilarious.
Well, he wasn't lying.
He wasn't. But I just love that quit smoking like that. Because I remember having a moment like, oh, Joey used to smoke. Oh, wow. And then Danny's like, bro, I ain't never seen you once with no, like, come on. Like, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I think it's kind of funny that they choose like these small moments to just remind us that Joey and Danny knew each other way back when, because it just never feels like they know each other.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm wondering if that's part of it. If just the familiarity of these two is just like, oh, it's just you. I don't really need to be doing a whole song and dance about the fact that you're in the room. You've been in the room. But yeah, it just one of the things that they just throw in to just remind us, yeah, they go back. Danny pivots the conversation to his situation. He says that he spoke to a casting director, and it turns out that there is an audition for a cereal commercial. Jesse suggests that DJ should go for it, and Joey disagrees, says that she's going to get beat out by some professional kid and going to get her heart broken. And Danny confirms this could be a big decision that impacts her forever, and the boys switch their stances. And we kind of touched on this already. You know, the pros and cons of actually getting into something like this. But I do really like the conversation that all three of these boys are having, because it is relatively nuanced, and there may or may not be a right answer here.
Yeah, I think the right answer really just kind of comes down to each person. Like, I feel like I have my own right answer, you have your own right answer, but parenting is different for everybody, so everybody's going to have their own right answer.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what Danny decides, which I think is the correct thing to do, at least with now that, you know, DJ is older, she is the oldest, he says that he wants to talk to DJ directly about it and ask the boys to continue feeding the baby. They struggle over what to feed Michelle since it will impact her forever. So they let her choose in a cute little scene. So Danny walks in on DJ doing her homework, and DJ asks, does freedom of speech mean I can say whatever I want around the house? And Danny says, yes, but that means I also have the right to say that again and you're grounded, which we see a little bit of the discipline dynamic there. Like, yeah.
He's like, yeah, of course. You have free will, so of course you can technically say whatever you want to. It doesn't mean that saying whatever you want to doesn't then come with no consequences.
And I think that was the right way to teach that lesson.
Right.
Very straightforward. So Danny sits down and tells her about the audition, and DJ is ecstatic. She wants to do it. and he tries to calm her down. Danny tries to calm her down and get her expectations in check and make sure that she knows that this is for fun, and and as soon as it's not fun, to not do it anymore, like, and just take it easily. And then she says, I want to do it. And Danny asks her one more time just to take everything that he has said into consideration. But of course, she doesn't want to wait and just runs out and grabs him and says, I want to do it. So,
yep.
Which is like, that's how a kid's going to react. Like,
yeah, I mean, you're telling them that they're going to have a chance to like be an actress and be on TV. Any kid who likes being in the spotlight is going to immediately jump into that without actually thinking about it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's hard for her to make those long-term decisions because she doesn't know what long-term is. She's 10 years old, 11 years old. Like,
exactly.
But, if it's what she wants to do, and I get why he's just like, okay, let's just do this. So we are at the audition, and there are a bunch of kids, and there's a great little interaction where this little girl, I guess she had her audition, and she comes out and she's speaking to the adult casting director, and she says, well, let me leave you my picture and resume. It felt good for me too, and I hope to hear from you soon. Ciao. Like, just a very like well put together professional kid. And Steph asks if that was a kid or a tiny grown up, and I honestly feel like I was one of these kids. Not like at an acting situation, but whenever I interacted with adults, I was just like, oh, Nas, I'm one of you guys, okay? Like, and that like my demeanor with adults was very much like that. And I feel like the people who raised me did take pride in just the fact that I could be very quiet and a very mature, well-spoken kid.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's weird though, right? Like when you see a kid just be so mature and articulate, it kind of, is it off-putting at all to you?
It's not off-putting to me, mainly because like you, I was kind of like the same, way. And I think when you are that way, you also kind of, that a lot of that comes from the fact that you have to like grow up a bit earlier, right? So you start to gain that like adult mentality because in your own way, you kind of have to start adulting yourself in a sense, raising yourself in certain ways and whatnot. But I didn't think it was weird. I thought it was weird that some kids didn't know how to act like that. I was kind of on the opposite side of it. Like, well, I act like this, so like, why are you struggling so much? I had an issue understanding that I was the one who was different and not necessarily the age I was meant to be in my brain. I was older than everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a weird, it puts you on a different level, and then it makes growing up a little bit weird. But very cute kid, great performance, and they really put the idea in everybody's head, like there are people who have been doing this for a while, and that's exactly how it feels. And I might have said this on this podcast before, but it's the idea where you have these 12-year-old kids with 30 years of experience. There's just this thing. So yeah. So DJ is intimidated, and she says, I don't have a resume or a picture, which maybe back then you could have gotten away with. But these days, if you don't have one of those things, you are not even walking through the door, if you can even talk to an agent. And Jesse speaks directly to the casting director and introduces DJ. And Stephanie, since DJ doesn't have a headshot, just draws a picture of DJ and gives it to the casting director so that she has a headshot, which honestly, the support, man, like that's so cute.
Really sweet. No, that was really sweet.
Yeah, like she really, like in that moment, you can tell that Stephanie is just 100% in support of, happy for, and proud of DJ. And it is very sweet.
Definitely. No, I thought that was really cute. Surprised that they accepted it because, like you said, but again, it could have been more lax back then. But we're not really here for the realism. So,
yeah, if I remember correctly, they might have also mentioned on How Rude Tanuritos that parents would never be in the room during an audition. And some other really cool details. So if you're curious about any of that and you're listening to us and not them for some reason, thank you so much, and go check that out. So we see a bit of DJ's audition, which is super, it's great. It's a very generic type of serial commercial, like, oh, I got the inside scoop, kids or parents. Like, it's a great cereal that your kids are going to love, but is also healthy. And she does great. And the casting director really loves her and wants her to do it again for the, I guess, hiring manager or the decision maker.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is super stoked. They're all doing their yeah type of stuff, and which I get. I mean, it's like that. Oh crap! I can do this type of feeling. So we're all stoked. And DJ decides to leave and do her hair, and Jesse needs to put quarters in the meter in his car, which leaves Stephanie alone in the room. Okay. I know that this needs to happen. I know that this needs to happen for the rest of the plot. But do we leave a 5-year-old in a building with a bunch of kids and a bunch of adults in an entertainment situation in the 90s or in the 80s? You left her alone there? You took the baby. Why didn't you take the 5-year-old?
Exactly. Yeah. I thought that was so weird. They said that they wanted her to like redo it for the freaking manager. So it's just like, if you're going to leave one kid there, why not leave the kid who's going to have to redo it and just kind of like come back up with the things that you need? Or why not just go with everybody? I mean, it was just a weird decision to leave like one of the younger kids by themselves in an entertainment building. Even if it was in a closed office, there's still people who are coming in and out. You never know what's going to happen. So it's just that felt like irresponsible parenting, realistically, or I guess babysitting in this case, because it wasn't Danny.
Both. I mean, yeah, it's weird. It's unsafe. I don't think it should have happened, but we understand that it has to happen
for the plot. Yes,
for the plot. Which, you know what? From now on, you only get one for the plot each episode. All right, you can't just be doing that. You are allowed one to kick off the plot and make it work. If you keep doing this ish, it's a little too much. But anyway,
yeah, no, I get you.
So Stephanie asks if she can eat some of the cereal because DJ's audition was so good it made Stephanie want some, and the casting director says that she's welcome to it. And Stephanie starts playing with the cereal, and the decision maker walks in, sees her playing with the cereal, and completely falls in love with what she's doing, which honestly is super cute. Stephanie's cute, and I mean, like, it makes sense. And it's kind of funny how the casting director just kind of takes credit. I mean, I would do that too if my boss thought that I made a decision that, you know what I mean? It's just like, yep, that's right. That was me. All me. I mean, that's
what she's there to do. And technically she's still in the office. I get taking credit. I would have taken credit too. No shade to her.
Yeah. Nope shade at all. So Steph is confirmed as the new Oat Boat girl. And DJ is very upset, and even Jesse is in disbelief, and it's a whole thing. It totally makes sense, but
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Okay, look, I get the, offering her the thing, but you can't make it official, especially with the kid that young, without some kind of parental signature. So realistically, This decision should have been like, oh, we want to extend it to you, and then obviously having to go back and have the whole conversation, which is what they wanted to do anyways, right? It's like with this plot, it leads us right back to the house where they have the whole conversation. With us wanting to lead it there, it would have just made more sense to be like, oh, but, make sure you get, a parent's signature after they find out that, I think it was Jesse who was there, right? It was Jesse who was there. So they would have looked at Jesse, oh, we need a signature. I'm not the guardian or the parent. So then she would have had to take it home, and then there would have been a whole fight there, which then would have caused Danny to have to be like the parent in that, which is where they were leading it anyways. I just don't know why they did it in this way. That was really aggravating.
I can understand them kind of being like, all right, well, maybe this decision maker, he's not thinking about the logistics or any of that because he's assuming that everybody who walks in through the door has signed the papers and all their parents are there and it's whatever. That kind of makes sense. But yeah, realistically, you would not go directly to a child and offer them the role. You would be talking to their agent, their parent, whoever. You wouldn't quite do this, but works for the scene, I guess.
Yeah, again, this is another one of those for the plot things because realistically, it would have came back to, I would have had her be offered it, them say they need a signature, which means it then has to come back to Danny that, hey, DJ didn't get it, but Stephanie did. And he already had a problem with DJ doing it at the age she was at. So why would he then be okay with her doing it at the age Stephanie is at? You get me?
Well, I think Danny's hesitation was more about the disappointment that DJ would feel if she didn't get it. He's more worried about the constant rejection than he is about the workload or the actual work. You know what I mean?
Okay, understandable. My thing, right? My biggest thing in this whole decision of, and I'm pretty sure I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself because I know it's in like the next scene or two when they get home and they talk about it. But I think that there's no reason to allow Stephanie to do it. That reason being because she went there for support. She had no interest in doing it until it was offered to her. While that can work going forward, I think it's dirty to do that to somebody who you're close to, especially when you were there supporting them. You had no interest in this. They had interest in this. Why are you taking the opportunity?
Yeah, and we can get into it more. I do have some thoughts there. We'll just kind of we'll go to the kitchen. In the kitchen, there is Joey's making a seaweed protein wheat germ tonic, which is just disgusting.
Oh my God.
Those of y'all out there who eat to live, power to you, but ew.
I agree on that one completely. It sounds unappetizing. It sounds like, really unappetizing.
Yeah, like not about that life. So DJ comes in and is really mad. Joey and Danny notice and assume that it's because she didn't get the part. And Jesse said, and Jesse reveals that what ended up happening was Stephanie got the part and Danny's torn. He's very sorry and disappointed for DJ, but very happy for Stephanie. And to go back to your question, like why, if you had hesitations around your oldest doing this, why would you let your middle child do this? And I really do think that it's because Danny wouldn't necessarily want to let the opportunity not happen either. I think that Danny feels comfortable enough in his experience in television to make sure that it's done properly and safely for her. And even though, Stephanie never had any interest in it, it's still a great opportunity and he could probably recognize it. And maybe I could understand like a 5-year-old being like, okay, yeah, now I want to do this type of thing. I think that it would have been really harsh to take that away from her. And to, because if that would have been the case, then nobody should have been able to do it at all, and it wouldn't have been fair to deny it to Stephanie. I personally think, but I do understand what it is that you're saying. It's like, well, you just want this because you got it, but do you want to do this because you want to do this? But she's also 5,
exactly.
Yes.
Now is the best time to teach her that. Like, look, again, especially as an adult, right? Like, I understand not being interested in something and then somebody being like, hey, do you want to do this? You'd be like, you know what? I've never thought about it. Yeah, I'm willing to do it. But like, why are you at an early age, just because you're given an opportunity does not mean at any age, forget that, at any age, just because you're given an opportunity does not automatically mean that you have to take it, especially if you have no interest in it, especially if someone who's close to you has actual interest in it. Why would you then take that instead of, I guess, throwing a bit of that light in the other direction towards somebody who this matters to? And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But the only reason why anybody would take it, despite anything, is FOMO, the fear of missing out on something. That's all it is. You have no interest in it. It's the fear of missing out on something. Well, if I don't take it, then what happens? And then if you don't get it, then I feel stupid for not taking it. Why do you feel stupid for not taking something you're not interested in? We can have this conversation all the time. You're not interested in it, so why does it matter?
Yeah, and obviously this is an extreme situation, but
yes.
if it was a boy, it would be super effed up for her to take something that her older sister wanted just because it was presented to her. If it was any other job, there is room. I totally hear what you're saying, where it's just like, she could have taken the high road and been like, you know what, I'm not going to do this. She's my sister.
You know what? It's not even about her taking the high road. It's about the adults around her not telling her that that's the road she needs to take. She is a child. At the end of the day, we are trying to teach them independent thinking. However, you can't just let them lollygag and make all these crazy decisions, especially when they're at the tender age of elementary school.
Yeah, I do think that there's some value in DJ seeing the harsh realities of this. And there is some value in, Stephanie understanding, seizing the opportunity. But I do think that you're right. It's kind of like, do we really need these girls to be in this? Like, come on. This is just going to, So
it's going to cause a rift between the two of them. Now, if both of them were interested in it, and one of them just happened to get it, that's fine. They were both interested in it.
Yeah, if we had one line in the beginning where Stephanie was like, I wish I could also be an actress, like that would probably
that would have saved the whole thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, it would have saved the whole thing for me, because instead what we're teaching them is, if an opportunity presents itself, you need to take it, otherwise you might miss something. That's not necessarily what it is. Just because an opportunity presents itself and it's given to you does not necessarily mean it's an opportunity you need to take for whatever path you personally want. Now, if you're just going aimlessly, okay, I get it. Takes whatever opportunities come up, you're going to learn something here, you're going to learn something there. But when it's going to cause strife between you and someone you're close to, whether that's a best friend or a sibling or just someone in your family that, again, someone who you're actually close to, because how you feel about that person definitely matters in how you're going to make certain decisions. But she's young. You have to teach your children how to show that they care for somebody, to not feel like they're going to miss out on something by not taking a quote unquote opportunity. Because again, not all of them are opportunities. They just present themselves as such.
Right.
Like you have to teach them that. Otherwise, they're just going to do it in their own way or whatever way that they're seeing. And we all know that they absorb very quickly. So they're seeing and hearing a bunch of different things, including the things you don't think they're seeing and hearing.
Yeah, no, I totally see what you're saying. Yeah. Joey says, hey, look at the bright side. I had nothing to do with it. Thanks, Joey. Thanks.
We love it.
You're very helpful right now. And Stephanie asks if DJ is mad at her. And DJ says, I'm not mad at you. I'm happy for you. Way to go, Steph. And pinches her on the cheek all scary like.
Yeah, but again, I get it. I understand.
Because she knows that she can't, she can be mad, but she knows that it would be out of pocket.
Yeah. I mean, would it be out of pocket, though? I mean, would it be out of... This is, again, one of those things where if you don't take into consideration everybody who's in the situation, you're going to end up hurting somebody. And in this case, because DJ is the oldest, now she's being taught, because she's younger than me and I have to take care of her, and I'm now I'm seen as the older sister, I have to suck up my feelings and allow her to have what she wants because she's younger than me. That's how you end up with spoiled children. And then a child who doesn't like you.
Yeah. And I think that DJ is recognizing that, there's only so much that Stephanie could have done, but she mad and she could be mad. In Michelle's room, Joey is holding a burger in front of Michelle for whatever reason, and just ultimately ends up cheating on his diet. Jesse and Danny walk in, and he tries to hide his food behind the baby toy, and Danny and Jesse investigate and find the burger. And, Joey ultimately caves. And Danny says that he went too far. Try moderation. Eat more fruit, more fiber, and just less fat. And Jesse said that he'll help out by finishing the burger for him, which I think is it's messed up, bro.
You just say you're hungry, bro, and you're going to take the burger.
How? I couldn't just eat somebody else's food like that. That's just me,
depends on who made it. Depends on who made it. But I also wouldn't just be like, hey, you need to lose some weight. I'm going to eat your burger. Like that's not something I would do either.
Real. You know what? Real quick, there was a member of my family who shall remain nameless.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was a kid. I was eating. I made a sandwich. I was eating my sandwich. And this person just walks up to me and like rips off a piece of my sandwich and eats it. And she was like, "You don't eat all of that. You'll thank me one day." Here I am,
That's
14,
crazy.
15 years later. I ain't thanking you for nothing, and you owe me a piece of a sandwich. Matter of fact, you owe me a whole freaking Jersey Mike's gift card. That's how mad I still am about that.
I feel like that's like a universal rage, though, because there was, and crazy part is mine is also about a sandwich, because it's like there's always that one time it's just it pissed you off so much you'll never forget it, right? My ex at the time, we were on like a long distance drive, like going from one state to another, right? I don't remember which one it was, but we were kind of on like a long distance drive, and we stopped at a convenience store. We picked up some sandwiches. I had one, he had one. I was driving. We pull over about a couple hours later. I had eaten half my sandwich. I was ready to like eat the other half. We had stopped at the gas station. I went in to go to the bathroom. By the time I came out, why did this asshole eat my sandwich? I was so upset. I'm like, we are on a very long distance drive, moving from, I think it was California to Colorado. It's like an 18-hour drive with no stops. We made it in like 23. That was the only solid meal we had bought the entire way over. And he had the nerve to eat my sandwich and say nothing until I went looking for it. He said,
the whole saying nothing part, the whole saying nothing part is where the disrespect comes in. You know what? That's how you know that you were doing something shallow. That's how you know that you were doing something foul. How are you going to eat somebody? And you're on a freaking...
I think everybody has one story where they can remember getting extremely livid over someone taking their food.
Danny says that he has to leave for work, but asks Jesse and Joey to keep an eye on the girls. Right now, they are avoiding each other, but that will not last, which I think is so funny. Like, Danny already knows it's gonna hit the fan. It's brewing right now. Keep an eye on them. I know these girls. And they're like, cool, whatever. He kisses the baby and asks her to never get into acting. And the baby feeds fries to Joey, which is kind of cute.
Adorable.
And then we're in the dining area. Steph is rehearsing by herself, and as she's reading her script, she's announcing her direction as like part of her lines, and DJ just starts laughing at her. Honestly, this moment triggered me. I did not like that. I didn't like the whole, "Oh no, you're fine, just keep doing what you're doing." No. I know what that feels like. It's very mean. Oh my God.
But again, this is what happens when you don't teach your kids how to work it out. They just kind of do it in the only way that they know how. And most times it's going to be by being petty and making you feel what they feel, because it's the only way that they know how to actually like get over it, in a sense. So yeah, no, this again is one of those things where I'm just like, to say that they're avoiding each other now and like it'll blow up later, and then to leave two very unexperienced men to then handle it instead of having trying to have some kind of conversation to get ahead of it. You, especially when you see that an argument is brewing, you need to teach them how to sit down and talk that out so it doesn't explode. The way that they chose to handle this was not healthy by any means. But I get TV drama and whatnot, but it wasn't healthy. I didn't like this.
It's interesting that he knew it was coming, but it's also just kind of like, I do know that some parents are just more, I don't even want to hear it. You guys are just going to have to figure it out for yourselves. But
that's but that's how you end up with kids who like can't stand you, because they're dealing with, the fact that their siblings are being this way, and you're meant to be the mediator, but you're not being the mediator. That's literally one of your jobs, is being the mediator and teaching them how to, figure out their emotions, what they're feeling, how to regulate those, how to communicate what they're feeling. Like, all of these things come down to you. And instead you're just like, parent yourself. We're still doing self-soothing, apparently, when two people are going at it. To me, it makes no sense. To me, it's creating an unhealthy environment of figure it out on your own. I'm not here to teach you how to deal with your mental or your emotions. Like, I'm not here to help you deal with any of that, or to even figure out what any of them mean, or how to regulate any of those, especially considering DJ is getting to a point where she's going to start really hitting puberty. This is not creating a healthy environment at all, because realistically, I feel like we've all had that sibling that kind of like picked on us a little bit extra, and now we have nothing but horror stories about them, and we just don't really talk about them, or we talk nothing but shit about them on a consistent basis. That's created because our parents didn't do what? Mediate. That's all.
So Stephanie asks for help if she's doing anything wrong. And DJ says, well, you didn't need any help when you were stealing my part. And oh my God, I hate this too. DJ says, well, I didn't want to do it anyway. Doing the commercial means you will have to miss school and you'll probably get held back. Which, DJ, really? Like that, being held back when you're a kid, like I know a lot of us have been through it, but it's a really like shitty thing to do because it's just, it hurts and it's a huge scare. And you can't tell that to a 5-year-old, like, oh my God, she's over here saying all this stuff. But then Steph comes in with the quickness saying, I think you're just jealous. And yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's 100% what it is. But again, we're only here being mean because we didn't have anybody to mediate. They decided that we're adult enough to figure out how to deal with it without hurting each other in any way. And I think that that is a very interesting choice. This whole, again, I said at the beginning that there was a point in here where I was just like, I don't agree with the decision making here, especially from like the adults in the whole thing. And this is definitely, again, one of those points where I'm just like, it's all tying into each other because all of it could have been avoided if we had an adult mediator. But instead he's just like, it's brewing right now. It'll hit the fan later. Good luck, you guys. Like, what?
Yeah.
This is the worst parenting we've seen from Danny so far. And I hate that because it feels like it was, again, for the plot and not necessarily something that Danny would do. It's not consistent with his other parenting, with the other examples of his parenting that we've seen beforehand. It's not consistent.
Yeah, I would say it is a little bit inconsistent. Danny is usually a lot more attentive to the feelings of his kids and won't just let these things happen.
No, he's never let anything brew before, not once. So it was a super interesting choice.
Yeah. This dynamic escalates to the girls running around the kitchen shouting. They're calling each other thief, jealous, and they're calling each other by each other's middle names. Stephanie Judith and Donna Jo Margaret. And
I don't know why it feels like an insult when someone adds the middle name. Like when they add the middle name, you're just like, oh.
Like, oh, I know who you call me by really are. And in a hilarious way, the boys break it up. And I think, it's Joey who actually physically picks up Stephanie, or is it Jesse? Somebody has,
I think it's Jesse.
Yeah, and the other one just has DJ around his, just like holding her physically. And Jesse sends Steph to go and rehearse, and they ask DJ to go downstairs so that they can talk to her. And in like a very brief moment where you actually see some parenting, DJ does the whole, but and Jesse's like, DJ, and just points like, yeah, no, now we're raising our voice. Now we have a thing. Get downstairs. It's over. So DJ is in Joey's room using his exercise bike. She's just blowing off her steam. And she's like, let me save you a lot of trouble. You're right. I'm wrong. And I don't care. And I'm just like, okay. I might actually have to use that. Like, I don't care. But they increase the intensity on the exercise bike, getting her to stop. And she just goes and plants herself on Joey's bed. And they kind of go back and forth on who should talk to her first. And Joey explains, and this is one of my favorite moments in Full House because it's probably one of my favorite moments in television. Mm-hmm. I think that this is a very true statement. It's just a fact. And Joey says that being a performer is a series of rejections occasionally interrupted by work. And yeah, and I feel yeah.
Realistically, in any part of the entertainment industry, even as a writer, it's the exact same thing. You're going to get a very large series of rejections. before you even get your first "we like it." Like, and that's assuming that and again, that's just a "we like it." That's not even a "hey, we're green lighting, we're gonna produce this, it's gonna be all like." That's just to get somebody to say we like it. Like, and that's what happens when a field is oversaturated. And in this case, there's a lot of people who do want to be in entertainment, and there's a lot of people who are successfully in entertainment, but because there's so many people trying to, it takes a lot more no's before you get to the yes. So yeah, that's an extremely true statement across just anybody working in entertainment, whether that's writer, cameraman, audio, music. It doesn't matter what part of it. It's going to be a series of no's with the occasional yes.
Correct. Yeah, there's no other way to kind of explain it. It's true. And DJ asks, so yeah, well, have you ever had your part stolen by your little sister? And Jesse then tries an angle and says, yeah, Stephanie, what, you think that she just pretending to care about you wanted us to bring her with us, and so that she can just sneak in and take it, and gets DJ to understand and realize obviously she didn't do it on purpose, but she's still mad at her. And
yeah, because even if she didn't do it on purpose, there was a choice that was still made, and that's what I feel like everybody is negating here, is that a choice was still made. And realistically, while there was a preference from Stephanie, the choice was made by the adults around her because it requires a signature. Then they can't offer it to a kid and then she's going to be the one getting paid. That's just not how that works. But it comes down to the fact that yes, they chose her over you, but she only has it because of the personal choice of taking it. And that's right. They keep negating the fact that there was a decision in here that then made Stephanie upset. Made DJ upset. And I get trying to get her to understand that you're not going to get everything. That's perfectly fine. But we also need to understand that your choice is what upset her. That might be a me problem, but let's not acknowledge the fact that it wasn't exactly that.
So they finally just ask DJ what the real issue is, which this kind of bothers me only because it's like, sure, okay, yeah, fine.
Right.
Let's just ask the kid.
Let's ask like she hasn't been saying it the whole time.
Well, act like she hasn't been saying it the whole time, and it's like, well, wait, what makes you think that she's able to like actually search for that and know? But what she says is, she's just sick of sisters. Everybody thinks that Michelle is so cute and Stephanie is so cute, and she's just disgusted with it. She thinks it's so disgusting. And Joey asks if it was so disgusting when she was the cute one in her play, and she was like, no, well, that was fine. And Jesse suggests that it's tough being the oldest because but look at the benefits. There's no hand-me-down. She gets to do everything first, and that she has two little sisters who look up to her, need her, and love her. And it's my whole thing is just that I am the youngest, so I do understand the dynamic between like the oldest or the older ones. It's not always the oldest, but there's always like, the responsibility with some of the oldest to like, take on, responsibility for the younger kids. And I do understand that that's something that's very hard for, an older kid. And I hate the idea of, she having to just be okay with this because she's the oldest and she gets all these benefits and all these things. It's like, well, no, like I don't want to have to put myself second for a kid. I didn't have one. I still am one.
Exactly. And it just, I feel like, again, most of this was just made for the plot. They wanted to get to a certain part, and instead they completely missed an opportunity to do something different that would have been so much better, which would have been, instead of this, like, oh, we want to get to this ending where, I guess we have that conversation. And I just feel like the parents didn't parent. The parents didn't do any parenting. There was so many learning opportunities for both, Stephanie and DJ and the audience, and they just missed all of it. This whole episode feels like a missed opportunity.
There was definitely a better way they could have told this story and made this point. And it does seem a little bit like a missed opportunity. DJ eventually comes around, and we are like, she's fine with it, I guess. And we are in the living room, and Stephanie is on the operator and trying to get Mr. Oatbo on the phone because she can't do his commercial anymore. This is one of those moments that really, like, this is one of those things where you're reminding me that she's 5 years old and can only grasp certain concepts, because this is the same individual who's nobody asked me. She's always very logical. She's always very on top of things. And now all of a sudden she's on the operator trying to call Mr. O because she doesn't want, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't seem like she's smarter than this, but I understand that she may not actually be because she is 5, but it's just kind of like, I don't know. But we also get our first how rude. It doesn't have the high pitch to it. It doesn't have like that. It's not quite the catchphrase yet, but it is the first time that we hear Stephanie say how rude, and it's a very special moment. And so Stephanie's downstairs, and DJ is downstairs. Stephanie apologizes to DJ, and DJ admits that she was jealous. And Stephanie says, "That's okay. I'm always jealous of you because you're the smartest, prettiest, funnest girl that I know." And it's just like, bro, that's mad beautiful. Like, she really does want to be like her big sister, and I think that's kind of nice. And she says, except Stephanie says, "Except for when you hate me," and DJ says, "I don't hate you. I was just mad at you." And DJ says what I think is probably one of the sweetest things I've ever heard, and is so much so that it almost seems out of character and just completely out of left field for DJ to say. But she says, "Even if you were just some random kid who lived in my room, I would still love you because you're my best friend." And it's just like, okay. I mean, this is news to me.
I mean, look, I get why you're flabbergasted, because I was a little flabbergasted myself. I'm just like, bro, we went through this whole episode of like them just gaslighting you into believing you're not allowed to be upset by this because it's something that you should have seen coming, or it was something that could have happened regardless. And it's just like nobody's understanding exactly where you're coming from. And we successfully gaslit her into just doing what would make her little sister happiest.
Yeah, it's not great.
I didn't like this episode. I think that's kind of obvious by this point.
Yeah. Stephanie asks, "Do we still need Michelle?" And DJ says, "Well, she'll like her a lot more when she's old enough for you to push around," which, okay, sure, whatever. And then DJ starts to break down the script for Stephanie, and the boys, Jesse and Joey, spectate as this happens. And that's kind of the end of the show. You mentioned that you just did not like this episode.
No, I don't like this episode. It doesn't feel like the parents were parenting. It felt like we missed a lot of opportunities to like teach some really valuable lessons. It felt like a lot of things that were done just specifically to get us to a certain point in the plot, which I'm never a big fan of. That it was just, this episode was filled with plot armor, which I guess is, I can't even say was fine because I don't like this episode. I don't like this episode at all. This one felt, it felt like it could have been more than what it ended up.
Little phoned in. Yeah. I like this episode. I do think that there's definitely some things that I haven't quite considered before, but yeah, this is a little messy. We could kind of get into our not in my house moment. I would imagine for me, I guess the not in my house moment would be, I wouldn't have brought Stephanie with me to the audition. And I may not have had the audition be a thing anyway. I probably would have just said, "Hey, if this is something you really want to get into, let's do some lessons. Let's do some clubs. We do not want to jump into a commercial right away." So
I agree. I completely agree. I don't really understand personally why they brought her, because again, honestly, why they brought anybody other than DJ just makes no sense to me, because again, we know that Joey was just kind of at home doing his healthy thing, and I feel like that could have been a whole extra thing, because I know parents, the biggest thing is struggling to be like healthy while you have kids, because you end up buying a lot of like, junk food and processed food for the most part, because sometimes that's just all they'll eat. Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that. I feel like I wouldn't have brought them, but at the same time, you know what? No, my not in my house moment would have been the um, it's brewing now, but it'll come to a head later is really crazy. Allowing two children to brew over realistically what is a very adult situation because it involves a career. It shouldn't have been done. It shouldn't have been done at all. It made no sense to me.
Yeah, it was a very stressful situation. What is our get the violins moment, the heartfelt moment, the message? I think it should be even if you were just some random kid who lived in my room, I would still love you, but
I can't even say that because it earned. Exactly at all. It felt like she was gaslit into feeling like she wasn't allowed to be upset because it was her sister, and that now that it's her sister's opportunity, she should, instead of being upset, you should be happy because at least it was your sister who took it from you. I can't even. I don't know if I have a get the violins moment this time. I just don't.
Yeah, I think it would. I think that line is what it was supposed to be, but I don't know if we really F with that. And what about our full stop moment? Like the moment that did not age too well. Maybe the leaving Stephanie alone in a building part. Maybe.
I'm going to have to actually agree with you on that. I am going to have to agree with you on that because that was crazy. How do you just leave a kid by themselves? That is nuts.
Yeah, no, that was a little bit of a weird one. And a dad like Danny. Did Danny put in any parental practices that we would like to discuss? He was very hands off. He was a little bit hands off. He tried in the beginning to just be like, I don't know about this. I don't know about this. I don't know about this. But then once it took off, he was just like, you know what? I said what I said. I don't have time for this now.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I guess, okay. So for my dad like Danny moment, I will probably have to go with the fact that he pulled DJ aside to have an adult conversation since this was more of an adult decision that she was making. I can appreciate that. That's about all I got.
Yes, I do appreciate that he went to her directly about it. So there's that.
Yeah. That's about what I got. Because again, I feel like there was no parenting in this episode. I feel like we just kind of let the kids parent themselves in a sense and figure out how they were going to deal with it. So yeah, that Danny did some parenting before we got to the part that I guess was considered plot.
This was quite a one.
This was. I didn't like most of anything that was happening here.
Yeah. Any other final thoughts before we just put this one in the past?
No, I just didn't like this one. I'm very glad it's in the past. I do not like this one.
Y'all heard it here first.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone.
Please remember to like, subscribe, follow, all the things, and stay tuned for the next episode. Until then, this is Dax
and M reminding you
to never walk away angry unless you have the right to be, and don't let people gaslight you into not being angry if you are.
Facts.
Thanks, everyone.